January 21st, 2026 meeting. It's your pleasure.
Move to approve as presented.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Banachak, support by Commissioner Burns for approval of the minutes. Are there any questions, comments, corrections? I do have one, Terry, that I'd like to ask about. I found it. Second page, first paragraph, the last sentence. Regardless of permit would be required for work done for any of the drivers.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, that should be any work done. If it meant to say driveways, let's see what case that is. Yeah, it would be driveways instead of drivers.
Then I would request consideration for an amendment to the motion.
I'll accept that amendment.
Michael?
Support.
Okay, we have motion and support to approve with one correction the minutes from January 21st, 2026. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, point on the agenda for public comment for any item that is not on our agenda. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on any item may come to the podium, state their name, sign a register, and they'll have 5 minutes. Seeing no one step forward, we'll move on to new business. Our first case tonight is case SPR 26-02, 1703 Marquette Avenue for Dean Boiler. Site plan review is being requested for a 4,900 square foot addition to the north of the existing 5,000 square foot building. The addition measures 70 feet by 70 feet and 11 parking spaces are provided. This will not require a public hearing. Terry, staff report.
Yeah, what I would like to add is in the staff report, there's a discussion about Sidman Street. That was just taking a look at the site in relation to what the drive was showing on the site plan. There is some follow-up that we could do as staff to check to see if there's any utilities that were ever retained. And if there were no utilities, it might be a good case for releasing the easements. But in either case, it's not being built over or near. It would just be something that would help clear that up in the future if there are no right-of-way, or not right-of-way, if there are no utilities within that former right-of-way. So other than that, the property is zoned the M1, so it is a permitted use. The parking is being provided based on the new parking demand for the addition plus the existing space. I think the only condition I note in the final conclusion is a little bit of landscaping in that M1 district is required in the front yard. The recommendation was only a recommendation, probably more so for the property owners to ideally have like a shared access drive that would just help protect, both of the parties for the situation of that back property accessing the drive, which is on, the majority of it is on the front portion of the parcels. So that's just discussed kind of as a recommendation, just as today, it might be a good time to clean that stuff up there.
Do we have any representative from the applicant who wishes to come forward? I guess not. Okay, then, do we have any commissioners who have questions for staff?
I'm just curious about the trash receptacle being located properly and the drawing showing the right-of-way is in Part 4.
On the dumpster, I did talk with the engineer, and that will be, if it hasn't already been removed from that area. So it would meet the setback requirement as well as being located outside any of a easement area. So yes, that had to be corrected. And then what was the second portion?
Well, you wanted the right-of-way shown on the drawing?
Okay, yep, that would be beneficial if it was, and I believe that that was conveyed to the engineer, so that is being changed too. Yep.
Okay, and the joint ingress egress, is that in process?
That I don't know. It's kind of a current situation. It doesn't really impact the site plan review because they have, their own access. I think it's more a suggestion or a recommendation that, that back property now might be the time to have a conversation with them and let them know. And then I had also asked if like title search was done. Sometimes, the recording would be showing up as a title search. So I don't know if anything showed up on the title search regarding an existing easement, but again, now might be the best time to kind of resolve that for the back property owner.
At the very least, a cross-access easement would be beneficial, other than just completely separating the two drives as part of the construction so that there is no crossover.
Right, because the new property owner has 20-foot strip of property there. The majority, all but I think a few feet, are actually on this property, the 1703. So.
Terry, a question regarding the parking. It's noted that 11 parking spaces are provided, and that appears to be in the existing parking lot. So is the 11 spaces, does that meet the ordinance in terms of the additional square footage that we're adding to the building?
Yes, yep, I did the parking calculations as part office, part warehouse, and then there's a third calculation. It might even be showing up on the sheet. Yeah, it shows up on the sheet under parking. It says business and professional, 1 space per 200 square feet of floor area. And then you've got the warehouse. So yeah, coming out to 11, and that does include 1 handicap parking space. That would be striped.
Okay, thank you. Questions by commissioners? Do we have anyone from the public who wishes to comment on the proposed project? Please step forward. Seeing no one step forward,
One last question. I see striped area, but I don't see any barrier-free marker on the pavement or any call-out of a sign on the building. Is that required?
Yeah, for that, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner of that drawing, there's a detailed about the painted striping there for that. It's called accessible parking stalls.
Overlooked that, sorry.
Okay, yep.
And then Terry, and I'm sorry if you mentioned it, but the landscaping, it does mention in here what is required, but do you know, is that what they're planning to do? Is this drawing with these 3 trees? Is that,
No, that does not represent the current landscaping, because where he would probably want to put it is either up around the sign or even on that south edge of the parking space there, because that could be a combination area of landscaping to satisfy that.
I'll remind commissioners, please speak directly into the mic for the benefit of our tape recording. Any other questions by commissioners?
So you would want the landscaping just as staff approval to be submitted with the revised drawing?
If there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to approve.
I would entertain that.
I'll go through the findings of fact. The area proposed, or the uses proposed, comply with the applicable zoning district and the dimensional regulations.
Sorry,
I'll-
Dennis?
Excuse me?
State the application number.
Say that again?
Can you state approval of the application number?
Be the SPR 26-02.
Yeah, let me get over there. I move the approval of, why is that not on here? SBR 26-02. I apologize, I forgot my glasses, so I'm having a heck of a time over here. For the finding of facts, the uses proposed comply with applicable zoning district and dimensional regulations. All elements of the site plan are harmoniously and efficiently organized in relation to the use, shape, and character of the lot, the type and size of the proposed buildings, the location and layout of landscaping and off-street parking areas, and the character of the uses on adjoining properties. The location and design of driveways is safe in relation to the street, providing access to the site and in relation to pedestrian traffic. Access to the site is designed to minimize conflicts between vehicles and pedestrians, and with traffic using adjacent streets and driveways, vehicular circulation on the site is designed to be safe and convenient. Safe and convenient pedestrian and bicycle access and circulation are provided. Off-street parking and loading also areas comply with the provisions of Article 17. Greenbelts, landscaping, and screening are going to be provided as per administrative approval. Walls and fences, if required, will be provided in accordance with regulations of Article 19. Signs will comply with the provisions of the sign code. A sign permit may be required. Refuse receptacles are adequately screened from view from streets and adjoining property in accordance with the regulations of Section 122-66, based on what the comment was about the engineer approving it. All exterior lighting building mounted and freestanding is designed and installed to comply with the regulations of section 12259 to result in minimal light trespass onto adjoining property and to avoid interference with the vision of motorists on adjoining streets. Access routes to all building structures and uses are provided for emergency service vehicles. Public utilities are provided in accordance with the regulations of public utility providers. And other than the items in terms of showing the right-of-way on the plans, suggestion for a joint cross-access easement, I think everything else is in order, so I move approval of this item.
I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have support. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, let's move on to our second case tonight. This is SU 26-02 for 501 Columbus Avenue, Bay City Housing Commission. Special use approval and site plan review is requested for construction of multifamily apartments less than 3 stories in height, providing 120 dwelling units. Parcels being developed are zoned O1 office and C2A general business and bounded by 11th Street, North Madison Street, Columbus Avenue, and Adams Street. Multiple family dwellings are permitted with special use approval in the O1 and C2A zoning districts with site plan approval. Staff report, please, Terry.
Yeah, in the staff report, I didn't go heavy into the various room sizes, and I do kind of list out whether it's a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom, and then a little bit of discussion about the off-street parking and the provision that they do expect to attend a zoning board of appeals and try to get relief from some of that based on their projected numbers and experience. They believe that that count would be well in excess of the number that would actually be needed for that. In the plans that you received, there were several pages of the first floor, the second floor arrangement, so you're welcome to ask any questions about that. And then there were several pages that indicated the square footage of each of those rooms. So I don't know if you have any questions about that. Other than that, we're moving forward with developing the entire site, which will also, which is also being worked on to combine the properties once we do the street vacation too. So there's several things in motion at the same time with this project. But for tonight, we have the site plan and the special use, and I'll let Mr. Phillips explain anything further.
Before we move ahead, I would like to make a motion that we address SU 26-02 and V 26-01 together, as one doesn't make sense without the other.
Is that permissible, Terry?
Well, we could, but when we get to that specific action, we'll do a recommendation. So I do agree that the two go hand in hand as part of the discussion. Yep.
I withdraw my motion.
Then anytime we want to open the public hearing, either before or...
The only reason for that, Dennis, is we only make a recommendation on the street vacation. We don't actually approve it. Mr. Phillips, please. Mr. Phillips, I'm sorry, could you speak directly into the microphone? We are taping this and we want to make sure we pick your voice up.
Once again, thanks for allowing us this time tonight. We've been on about an 8.5, 9-year journey to come back to you with a plan for this development. And we were talking amongst ourselves this morning, and we think all things happen for a reason. So we're pleased to be here, and we think a lot of the challenges that we may have had years ago with the initial site have been resolved in the plan that's before you for consideration tonight. So I'm going to take just a few more seconds and give you a quick overview. We have planned on the two major sites and the right-of-way that we are proposing to vacate, 120 total units. Each side is almost a mirror image of itself. The buildings along the frontage along Columbus Avenue, both of those L-shaped buildings are 3 stories, and the buildings that are arrayed around the perimeter of the site are stacked flat units. So the change between this plan and the plan that we had originally introduced a number of years ago is that we have taken some of the density that was problematic along Columbus Avenue, and we have sort of smoothed it out over the balance of the site. And we think this is a very effective transition from Columbus Avenue, where we have a 5-lane urban setting, to the transition into the neighborhoods that we want to protect so much. So we're pleased with this, and we will be requesting, or have requested, of the Zoning Board of Appeals a parking variance or reduction down from what the code would provide down to effectively 1 space per unit. It's actually, we show on the site plan a tad more than that. But what I'd like to do is step back. I'd like to have our project architect kind of walk you through the iterations of this development, because we covered a lot of different variations to get where we are tonight. So, Carl, would you like to?
In the meantime, as he's walking up, no, come ahead. I need a motion to open a public hearing on this case. I didn't ask for it.
Move to open public hearing on case issue 26-02.
Support.
I have motion and support to open public hearing on SU 2602. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Same, opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Proceed. Please identify yourself.
My name is Kyle Osterhart. I'm an architect with Concept Design Studio. You need an address or no?
You sign the register, that'll be sufficient.
Okay, I'll do that. Like Bill said, we've worked through a number of iterations as far as the projected plan. Here we are with what you guys are looking at. I'm not a person to get too much into detail with you, because you guys have the plans in front of you. So if you have any questions that I don't kind of catch in this quick synopsis, please feel free to ask me or let me know. But like Bill said, the back half of those 2 parcels are stacked flats, 2-story, access from the parking lot, also balconies on the street side. The 2 buildings on Columbus Avenue are 3-story apartments. Across the site will be a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. 1 bedrooms would be in the mid-rises, as well as 2 and 3 bedrooms, but the 2 and 3 bedrooms would only be in the stacked flats, so there wouldn't be any 1 bedrooms in the stacked flat back half of the site. On the site, we would be looking at a tot lot, the dumpster enclosure area. We've had some conversation about its current location, and potentially moving one closer to the mid-rises so they didn't have to go to the back of the site to throw their trash out, as well as offices and community rooms. The way that the site is structured, there's 2 different phases. The left phase would be phase 1 or 2, it doesn't really matter, but each phase would have a community room in the mid-rise, as well as an office to serve the site. The community room would be approximately 15 square foot per dwelling unit, and that would include the stacked flats. The accessibility for the site, being a stacked flat, that means that your access to the second story is going to be through a stair. So those ones would be the only units that aren't visitable, meaning that there's not a zero-step entry to those. All the other units in the stacked flats, first floor, and the mid-rises would be visitable. The mid-rises each would have an elevator per code. Of true accessibility type A units, we would be targeting 10% for this. So you would, out of the 120 units, 12 of them would be full barrier-free type A accessible. As far as the, we met with the department heads and fielded some questions, and with the understanding that there was a lot of kind of put on, like, at staff approval would come maybe site lighting, for example. Once it's engineered, it would need to be staff approved, and they seemed to be okay with that. The landscaping, we've also had some conversations about that and potentially altering that a little bit here. Primarily, there's a heavy industrial use across Adams Street and 11th Street, so we'd want to create a little bit more of a buffer there with some landscaping. And Bay City Housing Commission facilities doesn't love a lot of trees, but we want to meet we want to make it a presentable site and livable. The last driveways. We have one new access off of Columbus and one access off of 11th with a loop around the site. The loop would potentially accommodate a bus if there were a bus stop that we would want to place on Newmarket Court. And the actual curb cuts and details aren't hashed out, but they would need to be approved and also meet local ordinances and county standards. So we're yet to go through that process with the understanding that we have to go through it. So the exterior design, we've been working on that, and we've been through multiple iterations with Bay City trying to find a design that we like, that Bay City likes, and so there were a number of iterations. What you see in your packet was what I talked to Bill about, more or less of a massing model rather than a final design. So that is still being worked on, and we've had a couple of different iterations, and I think that we've narrowed it down to one with some tweaks. So if there are any other questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you.
Are there any questions to the applicant by commissioners?
How are utilities being handled? Because Adams is brand new, Madison's recently paved, Columbus is recently paved. Where are you taking your sanitary and your storm to?
So the utilities, Bay City Housing Commission has gone through the process of vacating a lot of the on-site utilities. So the storm, the best connection would be in the corner of Adams and 11th. And I don't recall what we talked about with water, so I can't answer that.
Okay, I don't have an idea what the utilities look like in the area, but my suggestion to you would be to run everything over to 11th Street if it's possible, because that street is in bad shape, and we wouldn't mind you tearing that one up and replacing it. But Adams, Columbus, and Madison in that area are in relatively good shape, and open cuts would be a shame.
Yes, we understand your point, and we've been contacting all the department heads after our group meeting a couple of weeks ago. And as soon as we've put together a detailed enough engineering drawing, we'll be able to have a more intelligent conversation about that, but we think 11th Street's going to play a major role in all of these utilities. Our goal to get us here tonight was to get the site cleared, and part of that process was to also get a vacation or a stubbing off, if you will, of the former utility lines that ran through the property. So we wanted to get to this phase before we started full engineering on the site, and so we could start with a clean sheet of paper, so to speak. So whatever the fall is, wherever the best connections are that are approvable by the city departments, we're going to be right there working to make that happen. And we do agree that there's some improvements on the perimeter streets, 11th Street primarily, that I think will end up benefiting from all this process.
Thank you.
I don't see any dimensions on the New Market actual drive part of the entries. Have you had a chance to review this with Bay Metro Transit to ensure that any of the dial-a-ride for handicap can access the site easily?
I did not talk about specific handicap. We did get a reliance letter last week from Bay Metro after they were provided the site plan. So they have reviewed it. We are currently drawing an iteration of this site plan that shows the potential for interior bus stops. We had originally sent one that showed looping around the whole property. We think that might be a little too congestive to do that. So what we're looking at right now is sizing the roundabout that's right there off of Columbus so that the buses could come in there and make a loop. We assumed that that would also include services for handicap, and we would certainly make sure that it did. That's part of our population. That answer your question, sir?
Yes, and if you do that, that'll be great. I think that's a great idea to have all interior parking, so.
Should the site plan change as a result of your conversations with Bay Metro, they would require a revision to the approval, right, Terry?
Well, it would have to be somewhat limited ideally because of the impending deadlines and the different things. So ideally, it would be administrative review and approval, I think, in order to...
I dare say that if we did have to tweak it, it wouldn't be a major design change. It would be more, we need an extra 6 or 8 inches or 18 inches in that turning radius or something of that nature that would likely not impact the basic design.
And I would assume that that can be done administratively as opposed to having it come back to the full board.
That's how we would hope, and that would come out best when we get the final fully engineered drawings to sit and tweak. There'll be obvious tweaks once actually put a fine pin to all those designs. If we have to move drop inlets to a certain location to accommodate proper drainage, that may or may not affect circulation. So, you know, there's always going to be tweaking and value engineering that goes on once we get those final fully engineered drawings.
Within reason, we certainly will allow our staff to have the administrative capability to make those approvals.
We are more than happy to have the staff virtually by our side as we evolve these plans. We want it to be totally comfortable for everyone, and I see no reason why we can't make it that way.
Other than the demands on their time. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna be looking at this property for the next 75 to 100 years, so a little time is worth it.
Are there any other questions by commissioners to the applicant?
Yeah, sorry, before you sit, sorry, I know, just when you think you're done, right? I kind of wanted to address the elephant in the room. Now, I know that you're going in front of the ZBA for a variance, but can you speak a little bit about the parking situation? I know that your, your numbers are a little off, but I noticed your little calculations here in the corner. Can you speak a little bit about these in general, how you came to these and
Yeah, sure. It's just practical reality, quite honestly. Rarely in a project of this nature does the code parking match what's really required for the property. And so it becomes a trade-off between density that we would lose versus adjusting the parking ratio. Having said that, our experience in Bay City over the last 50 years is that to get to that table, we took each of our 4 high-rise buildings that we had been operating all that time, and because of the way our leases are worded, every single automobile that's allowed on the property is permitted and registered in our office. So we were able to add up how many vehicles are on our properties at any given point in time. That also extends to our scattered site units. So we did that. We actually went before the zoning board in 2018, I want to say, with the same request. We received support then, and we provided the same data then. We counted up everything, looked at that ratio, what it turned out to be. And so that's how we have stayed consistent with the 1 space per unit. And that's what you have in that table.
Now, is that, if I'm understanding you, that's only registered vehicles? Are there, visitor parking, or has anybody done a
Yeah.
physical count versus, to see if other people are parking there, or, that maybe not be registered or something like that? I mean,
Right, you're always going to have a certain inflow of guest parking, but you never will have all of those units and all of those spaces, rarely, I would say, filled up at any one point in time. So we have on all of our properties, I'm not aware of any moment in time where our properties have been filled up in their parking lots and overflowing, unless we had people for an event that, shouldn't have been there to start with. But the last thing we want to do is get into a situation where our tenants have more cars than we have spaces. So we're just as concerned about it as you are, and would not bring it to you this way if we weren't comfortable and didn't have a lot of years of data to support it.
They're not assigned parking spaces, right?
I'm sorry?
They're not assigned parking spaces at the facility?
No. The only designated parking spaces are the handicapped and accessible spaces, of course.
do you know what is there any street parking on any of these streets around?
Currently, there is street parking. Actually, there's parking all down the property side of Columbus Avenue. There's parking on 11th Street. I don't think there's any parking along North Madison. And because of the configuration of the site historically, where the Market Pavilion had been, I don't think there's any designated parking along North Adams. There could be, there probably should be, but we just, quite frankly, hadn't thought about that on North Adams.
Is Adams, has it been recurbed? Was there a curb there at all?
No.
I recall when the pavilion.
No, it was straight drive up.
Right.
I mean, it was a graded ramp, if you will, to get up to the level of the market.
That could be,
I think you could and should and would be under the new development plan. I just haven't thought to articulate that.
I'm just thinking that might be conducive to on-street parking.
I agree with you. I think it is now that it comes up. We've been focused on the interiors, having to self-contain, if you will, the parking that we feel we need for the development. But certainly having additional off-street parking always is going to help a little bit relieve any pressure that might accidentally build up.
Have any other questions from commissioners?
I have a question for you, Doug. With that thought in mind, how would you go about, which part of the process would you, I mean, is that, how would that come about? You know what I'm saying? If they wanted to do that?
Curbing 11th Street?
Because the parking.
North Adams?
That would, yeah, that would.
It's going to get curbed.
But if you wanted to put parking there, I mean, is that technically on the city street? Or would that be?
Well, if it's allowed parking in that area and only lacks the curbing to make it, obvious, then it sounds to me like there would be an opportunity for the applicant to work with the city on that.
If you continue northbound on Adams, there is parking on the east side of the street, so putting curb in would give them the ability to put parking in that same stretch as well.
That's what I was thinking. But
That would be
I'm not
easy.
here to solve
That
your
would be
problem.
easy enough for us to add into the mix.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the site plan you've presented to us, so
No, but
it's
I
just
mean,
an
it makes
aside.
sense to actually coordinate it with the completion of the site.
While we're discussing this, since this property is dual zoned, and one of the zonings is C2A, does that play into this?
Well, it did, and there were discussions about that because half of the property does require parking calculations. The other C2A portion is exempt from parking regulations. But just to keep it simple, I think in the end, it was still a ratio and then an actual count. I know Bill had communicated in terms of ratios and then showing some of the numbers, but when we came to the ZBA report, we did actually do a calculation based on the portion that would require parking, I believe, is how we came out to that.
I'm not really worried about it since it is going to the ZBA. Most of that high rise, I don't think they'll have cars. They'll be counting on the bus. So I don't think we're going to have an issue. But since we do have perimeter parking on 3 sides of the block, I think any visitation is going to be able to take advantage of those spots. So I don't see an issue, and at this point, I'd like to make a motion.
We've got a couple things to do yet. One is public input. If no commissioners have any further question, I would like to open the floor to anyone from the public who wishes to comment on the proposed project. Please step forward, state your name, sign or register, and you'll have 5 minutes. Seeing no one step forward, Terry, did we receive any communications on this project?
No, not directly for any public input, no.
Any phone calls?
Nope, none that were recorded. I did speak with a gentleman who came in after the last meeting and let him know about the case being postponed. Kind of shared with him exactly what was happening, and he was comfortable and left the office. So just one inquiry.
That being the case, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved?
Support.
I have motion and support. Motion by Dennis Bonacek, support by Commissioner Burns to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We'll move into the business portion now where we will discuss this and make a decision. Any commissioner wish to comment on the proposed project? I'd like to make a comment just as in recognition of all the work we did in putting the master plan together. This is a nice fit with what we had articulated in Section 3, Chapter 3 of the master plan. This meets a need in the city for missing middle housing. I think it's a good project. I'll be voting in favor.
I have one comment. When we were talking about Bay Metro, currently the Metro bus comes southbound on Madison, goes down to 14th Street, turns west and goes right past my house to get to the high rise over there. Looking at this layout, it wouldn't be a big ask to have bus stops on Columbus and on 11th so that the bus could circulate clockwise around the development and pick up people on both sides. That's just a suggestion to Bill.
To add to that, there are actually 3 buses that go by this because there's the number 3 that goes up Madison northbound too. So we'll have bus.
I'm sorry,
there's
Ashley, could
bus
you?
access from.
Yeah, closer to the microphone, please. Sorry.
There are multiple bus routes that go by this site. So there's Columbus and there's direct access that the bus goes up and down Madison. Just food for thought because I love the bus.
Can you tell she's from New York?
I got my driver's license.
Do I have any other comments from commissioners?
So I'm sorry, I missed. Are the dumpsters moving or are they staying in the proposed spot?
I haven't heard that it was moving. Mr. Phillips?
Yeah, I don't think they are.
There are fixed dumpster pads. We think they'll stay pretty much where they're shown. We've tried to distribute those, so that we have reasonable access to all the residents. So could be occasion once we do the final engineering, of course, with stormwater and all of that might have to tweak them, but I don't see them moving very far if they have to move at all.
Oh, and Terry, I noticed there's a comment here that says under driveways, that it's 92 feet in the architectural plan, but shows 22.
I think there was just a discrepancy between that colored drawing and then the actual sheet C1-02, which is the schematic site plan. Must be a difference between 2 measurements, so the 24 would be the correct one.
Any other comments?
Just that 24 would be the standard for residential access, ingress and egress, so that makes sense.
Hearing no further comments, I would entertain a motion.
I would like to move approval of SU 2602. Finding of facts are that the proposed special use will not impair public health, safety, or welfare, that the proposed special use is appropriate for the proposed location and compatible with the character of the surrounding land uses and the uses permitted in the zoning district in which it is proposed. In which surrounding property is located. The proposed special use complies with the applicable zoning district regulations. The proposed special use, no, that line is not a NA. The location and design of the proposed special use minimizes any potential adverse effects of the use on adjacent property by avoiding significant adverse impact relating to parking, loading, delivery, storage, and service areas, odors, noise, glare, vibration, and other potential nuisances. The location and design of the driveways, as we just discussed, are safe in relation to streets providing access to the use. Access to the use is designed to minimize conflicts between vehicles and pedestrians and with traffic using adjacent streets and driveways. Off-street parking, as per the ZBA, will comply. Green belts, landscaping, and screening shall be provided in accordance with the regulations of Article 18. Walls and fences are not applicable. Any signage, for instance, a ground-mounted sign, would have to get permitted and be approved. Refuse receptacles, as discussed, are adequately screened from view from streets and adjoining property. All exterior lighting must be designed and installed to comply with the regulations of Section 12260 to result in minimal light trespass onto adjoining properties and avoid interference with the vision of motorists on adjoining streets. That'll be part 4. Bear with me for a second here. A lighting plan will be provided and approved administratively, right? Thank you. Okay. And access routes to all building structures and uses are provided for emergency service vehicles, and public utilities are provided in accordance with the regulations of public utility providers. Stormwater management will have to be approved by the engineer to be consistent with city, state, and federal regulations. Public utilities shall be provided in accordance with the regulations of public utility providers. Stormwater management shall be consistent with city, state, and federal regulations that will receive approval by the engineering department. Under conditions, our items stated from Part 3, the most important one would be that the utilities have not been completely vacated yet, but the city is working on it. A land combination application shall be submitted to the assessing department for the 2 parcels to be combined once Jefferson is vacated. And like I said, a sign permit and a lighting plan are going to be required if signage is provided or lighting is going to be provided, obviously. And with those reasons stated in fact, I move approval of SU, what did they say it was, 2602?
I have a motion for approval. Do I have support?
Support.
Support from Commissioner Burns. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We will move on now to case V2601, Jefferson Street right-of-way vacation. The Bay City Housing Commission, 315 14th Street, is requesting to vacate a portion of Jefferson Street right-of-way pursuant to Section 94 of the City Code of Ordinances. Street right-of-way is 60 feet in width, and the length being approximately 377 feet. Street right-of-way is in the addition of Lower Saginaw Plat and is bounded by Columbus Avenue, Adams, Madison, 11th Street. The right-of-way is more specifically described as being the Jefferson Street right-of-way beginning at the south right-of-way of 11th Street to the north right-of-way of Columbus Avenue. We do require a public hearing on this, so let's move. I'll entertain a motion to open public hearing.
Move that we open a public hearing for this
Second.
item.
Sorry, second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bonacek, second by Commissioner Meyer. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We are in public hearing. So, staff report first. Terry.
Yeah, this is going through a process where the Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the City Commission. You may recall just last year, the ordinance for right-of-way vacations was amended to no longer require the 4 weekly publications. So that is going to work out a lot better in our favor to make sure people get noticed, but at the same time, save the extensive costs that it took to advertise for 4 consecutive weeks. The one note that I would, I guess, call your attention to is the different departments have obviously been routed, and we weren't hearing back from consumers. They were notified. We had some contact information. Still didn't get it. We finally got in touch with them. They're reviewing it. So there's just that one department that is out there. I say that because in the recommendation, it states that utility easements being retained until such time as utilities are relocated or removed from within the right-of-way and replaced in accordance with a new development plan. That would be contingent on whether or not consumers comes in and says they have anything in there. If not, then it would be allowed or be permitted to be vacated with no utility easements being retained. So that will be the difference in the final resolution that the City Commission would receive, whether or not utility easements would have to be retained or whether those would be released.
Phillips, do you have any comments you'd like to make on this?
I think if you just close your eyes for a minute and envision the site plan that we've brought before you tonight, and then envision it without that right-of-way, I think you'll have a pretty instant appreciation for why it makes a lot of sense just from a design standpoint and the proximity and the prominence that the location has on Columbus Avenue. We tried different ways to design the location, and we just keep coming back to needing this right-of-way to really pull it all together. There's another less obvious reason to do it as well. From a management perspective, when we operate properties, we have reams and reams of lease provisions, rules and regulations and guidances and ways that we have to operate. Where we have the most difficulty sometimes is where perhaps somebody violates a lease provision but does it in a place where our authority is caught between the public safety practices and our ability to enforce our leases. If we leave this right-of-way outside of the development, we have no right to enforce anything that goes on in that space. And if we incorporate it, then to the extent we have folks that are hanging out there that don't have the proper authorization to be on the site, we can enforce that through our leases and through our rules and regulations. So I think from a long-term operating standpoint, it makes a lot of sense, if for no other engineering and no other planning purpose, just for the long-term value and integrity of the operations, we need to have this site consolidated. So that was the reason we've taken the path that we have and brought it to you this way tonight. So we hope you'll agree with that.
Question to staff. Worst-case scenario, if consumers does identify something in the right-of-way, an easement can be drafted with the vacation, correct?
Exactly. Yep.
So that wouldn't necessarily negate being able to do the vacation.
That's correct. Yep.
And that wouldn't pose a problem to the Housing Commission?
No, I don't see that we'd have a problem because we would be able to work with consumers to reroute it if we needed to for some reason. In my memory bank, as cluttered as it is with cobwebs these days, I seem to recall a 2017, 2018 memorandum from consumers where they were actually stubbed off at Columbus Avenue, which would be effectively right about the lower left-hand corner of that curb cut that was shown on the site plan. So I don't think certainly that line hasn't been in use with them for a long time. I was finally able to connect with two individuals at Consumers this morning, and so we're in the process of getting their will serve letter or reliance letter, depending on how you look at that, from them. So we had to provide them some more detailed information. So between what Terry is finding out from them and what we're asking of them, I think we'll be able to accommodate that if we had to.
And consumers did participate in the alley vacation that occurred just to the west a few years ago in 2023. A portion of an alley that was still there was vacated, and consumers did reply to that particular case. So,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Phillips. Are there any other questions by commissioners to staff?
It is noted on this application, it asks the question, is the area proposed to be vacated being used by other property owners to access their property? What is that referring to?
Terry?
but were you reading that?
On the right-of-way application, question 2, underneath the little boxes there.
And what's the answer?
Yes.
There is a nuance to our development plan. If you like, I can take a minute to give.
Well, I think this question is actually asking, under the current arrangement, is there other people that, and this would typically be, if you think of the alley, when we vacate alleys, we're looking closely at who's accessing that alley to make sure that if it was vacated, that they either have an alternative parking area. But that, I believe, is a question being asked today with the circumstances, and then the answer would actually be, we own the entire block. So
it should have been no.
it could have easily have been no. Yep.
In the context of does anybody use it today? Yeah, we have people that pass through between both sites to get to North Adams Street past 11th. So that was the context for the answer.
Yeah, I think more in terms of somebody that might have property on the west side of the proposed vacation of Jefferson that wouldn't have any other, well, but that would be bad.
Well, we could clarify the question a little bit better in the application, but I do believe that that is a question as to, are other people using that right away to access it? Because that's the question that would be most important.
Yeah, well, we've discussed frequently here that we own and have for a period of time all of the parcels on either side of that stretch of North Jefferson. I would tell you that we did, following conversations a week or 10 days ago, we have aggregated both sites already. We did that on Friday. And so all of those parcels, our parcels, are aggregated under the 501 Columbus Avenue street address under a single parcel. So we went ahead and moved forward with that. So all of those individual parcels, if you go look particularly at the western parcel where the market was, all of those parcels are now under one.
All combined under that tax ID number?
Yeah, and the work that the assessing office is doing I have had communication with them. So, yeah, we're just trying to line up all of the different items for they do fall in order. But yeah, that would have the ability to be combined.
Any other questions for the applicant or staff? I will now open the floor to anyone from the public who wishes to make comment on the proposed vacation of South Jefferson. If you have comments you'd like to make, please come forward to the podium, state your name, sign or register, and you'll have 5 minutes. Seeing no one come forward, I would entertain a motion on the request for the vacation of South Jefferson.
I would note that it is the North Jefferson.
All right, North Jefferson.
I have a question for Terry. Do we have to go through A through N, or do we just do the 3 under Part 4?
Say you are just able to make a recommendation. Yep, that's all that's required.
All right, then I move to make a recommendation for item V 26-01. Under finding of facts, it appears that closing and vacating Jefferson Street, North Jefferson Street right-of-way being in Block 135 of the Lower Saginaw Addition would constitute an improvement and advantage to both the city and to the property owner, the Bay City Housing Commission. Utilities located in the street right-of-way may be removed or relocated. In this instance, we know there's a water line that still has to come out. And as far as consumers goes, I don't think they have any kind of an easement running across the property. They would put their utilities in the front outlawns inside the road right away, so I don't see that becoming an issue. And the final determination whether any utility easement needs to be retained will have to be made by Terry and the planning department as an administrative decision. With that, I move approval, or move to have this recommendation forwarded to the city commission.
I have a motion to, recommendation to be made to the City Commission for the vacation of North Jefferson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Myers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. We have a couple of things left on the agenda. Election of officers. Who are you going to move forward on that, Terry?
Well, we could do that tonight because it normally is done in November, but just due to some changes with membership, we haven't quite gotten to that, but I guess we could do that if there was a desire to do it tonight.
Without objection, I'll open the floor for nominations for officers for the Bay City Planning Commission for the 2026 term. We can take them one at a time. Yeah.
Yes.
So I would open the floor for a nomination for president.
I nominate Douglas Rise.
Do I have any other nominations?
Question, what are the offices we're filling here?
Pardon me?
What are the offices we'd be filling?
It would be president or chair and then vice, and then it would be secretary. The secretary really doesn't do too much as far as the processing of the applications or the meeting minutes. because of staff. So primarily, it is the chair and vice chair duties.
Are you taking nominations at this point?
I have,
I would like,
floor is open for president of the commission.
oh, we start at the bottom. I want to nominate Whitney for secretary.
One thing at a time. There are no more nominations. Motion to close nominations is in order.
Move to close nominations.
Do I have support?
Second.
So the motion is for, well, there's only one person, Douglas Rise as president for 2026. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? One abstention. I'll open the floor for nominations for vice president for 2026.
Nominate Ashley.
I have a motion for Ashley. Do I have support?
Support.
I have motion and support for Ashley Meyer as vice president for 2026. Do I have any other nominations?
Move that we close nominations.
Do I have to say it 3 times? I don't have to say it.
City clerk normally says
I know,
3
the city
times.
clerk says I got to say it 3 times. Do I have any other nominations? Do I have any other nominations?
Move that we close nominations for vice president.
Motion to close the nominations for vice president. Do I have support? I have support from Commissioner Burns. All those in favor for Whitney Anderson for vice president? I'm sorry, Ashley Meyer. Looking at,
And then also ask her if she's willing to accept that.
are you willing to accept the nomination?
Oh, sure. Why?
Sure. Sounds like an affirmation to me. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
And I'll also take my abstention.
I will now open the floor for nominations for secretary for 2026.
I'd like to nominate Whitney.
A motion for Whitney Anderson for secretary for 2026. Do I have support?
Support.
Support from Commissioner Meyer. Do I have any other nominations? Do I have any other nominations?
Move that we close nominations.
Do I have support for closing nominations for vice president?
Second.
I have support from Commissioner Meyer. All those in favor of Whitney Anderson for secretary for term of 2026, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Great, thank you. And the last item is the 2025 annual report. We're diligently trying to pull all that together still. So we'll get it done, but I think it'll be the first time it might have to be out in March. So we'll get it done and in your hands at the latest at the next meeting.
Speaking of March, Terry did pass out for everyone tonight another packet for the zoning ordinance. So get a chance, and we did get a fairly significant packet already. So take a look, get your questions in order. The March meeting will be dedicated at this point solely to the zoning ordinance.
That's correct, because we didn't receive any cases, so we will be able to use that night for the presentation of the work on the zoning ordinance.
We may have to bring snacks. I'm just saying. I said we may have to bring snacks.
Yes,
It'll be a long one, boys and girls.
and water.
All right.
Any other items not on the agenda? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move
Motion to adjourn.
One of you support?
Second.
We have support over here. We beat you to it. We're adjourned. We don't have to vote on that.
All right, thank you for your evening.
7:17, 7:18?